of the 10 plagues in Moses. Okay, so we all find something new today. So the story of Moses, it's like really, really complex. And if I told you everything, it would take like hours. So I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm just going to kind of like briefly tell you like his past so that like his, like the 10 plagues will like make sense. So first, it starts out off with Pharaoh, and this is in Egypt, right? So Pharaoh saw that the Israelites were getting too numerous. They were expanding, and he was scared that they would overpower him and fight back against him. So he made the Israelites work harder, and the Israelites are slaves to Pharaoh, and they started making them work harder. And he also ordered all the midwives to kill the baby if they were a boy. So when he ordered this, the midwives were like, no, we're not killing children. So they secretly didn't kill the boys. And Pharaoh found out. He was like, why are there still more children and when I told y'all to kill the boys? So then Pharaoh said, Exodus 1:22. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. And the Nile is this giant river. There's crocodiles, like everything. And these are babies being thrown into a river for absolutely nothing, just because he's scared that one day they will fight back against him. And so Moses' mom, she had Moses, and he's a baby boy, so obviously they would kill him. So she hid him for 3 months. So just imagine hiding a baby for 3 months. Like, the baby needs to eat, the baby cries. Like, babies are pretty loud. Like, I imagine it would be really hard. And at one point, she put him in a basket and floated him down the Nile River. And it floated straight to the Pharaoh's daughter. And the Pharaoh's daughter felt really bad for the baby, so she ended up keeping Moses and raising him. So Moses is living with Pharaoh, so he's kind of like, he's not a king, he just like is royal, I guess. I don't know what you would call it. But he's living like with Pharaoh. And later, when Moses grows up, he realizes that he is like a Hebrew, and he realizes that his people are enslaved. And so he notices a guard beating another slave, and he goes up to the guard and he kills the guard for beating this slave. So Moses commits murder. Then he lives somewhere, he flees away so he doesn't get caught. He gets married, has kids. Then he sees a burning bush. I could talk about this in a whole nother lesson, but it's a bush that's burning, but it's not actually burning. That's crazy. So God tells him at the burning bush to free his people. And then Moses went to Pharaoh and was like, let my people go. And he said no. And Moses, like at the burning bush, when God told him to let the people go, he was like, no, how can I let someone go? Like, how can I let thousands of people, like save thousands of people? I'm just one man. How can I do that? And how am I just going to go walk up to Pharaoh and say, free my people? Like, how would he listen to me? And he tried to convince God to get another person to do it, because for one, I found out this, Moses was awful at talking. He had a stutter, he was just not good at talking in front of people. So he was trying to convince God, like, hey, I'm not the right guy for this, try to get someone else. And he was like, no, like, you can do it because I'm with you. Like, don't do it on your own strength, do it with my strength that I give you. So Moses was like, okay, I'll go. He still kind of doubted. But he went up to Pharaoh and he said, let my people go. He said no. So, he was like, God, this isn't going to work. I'm terrible at talking. So God was like, okay, get your brother Aaron to talk for you. So, I didn't know this either, but Moses wasn't the one who talked to Pharaoh like in the movie. It was actually Aaron, like the first 3 or 4 plagues. But, God told Moses what to do, and then Moses told Aaron what to say. Aaron, said everything. So, fun fact, Moses was 85 years old when he did all this, and Aaron was 83. In Exodus 6:30 says, but Moses said to the Lord, since I speak with faltering lips, I deleted the F, altering. It's supposed to say faltering lips. Why would Pharaoh listen to me? So that's kind of like God, Moses telling God, I have a stutter, why should I do this? So they got Aaron to do it. So Aaron did it. So here's what happened. So Aaron and Moses went up to Pharaoh, and they were like, they said, okay, so Pharaoh was like, perform a miracle, and take your staff and throw it down. Oh no, God said this. God told Moses to go up to Pharaoh with his staff and throw it on the ground, and it would turn to a snake. Okay, so if God told you to do that, would you be like, what? A staff into a snake? If I tried to do that, I'd look stupid. So he actually did this. But so Moses told Aaron to do it. So Aaron was holding the staff and went up to Pharaoh and threw the staff on the ground, and it turned into a snake. So then Pharaoh's like, okay, and he gets his magicians. He was like, okay, let's see if my magicians can do it. Their magicians, they threw down both of their staffs, and it turned into a snake. I don't know how they did it. I'm assuming, you know how when you pull out of a rabbit out of a hat, I'm assuming it was kind of like that. Maybe they had smoke bombs and made it look like they were actually doing it, but it was like a magic trick. I'm assuming it was like that. I don't really know. But, so when they turned into snakes, Moses' snake ate the other snakes, and then it turned back into Moses' staff. So they didn't have their staffs anymore. Okay, so, and then he was like, will you let my people go now after this? And Pharaoh still said no. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting. My favorite part. This is the beginning of the plagues. I will show you a hype video. Well, actually, it's not really a hype video. It's kind of sad all the plagues that happened. So I wouldn't call it a hype video. I just call it a video showing you everything. Okay. So that was what happened. But I'm going to explain that whole video. So the first plague was the Nile. So they went to Pharaoh again. It was like, let our people go. And he said, no, again. So now, Moses was like, we're going to turn the Nile into blood. And Pharaoh's like, bet. And they did it. So, so look at that. They turned a huge river into blood. Thick, disgusting blood. You can imagine how that smelt. Like, and think all the living creatures inside the river, they died because of blood. So imagine disgusting fish dying, and it's all on top of the river in blood. Imagine how disgusting that smelled, and how like awful it was for everyone to smell that. If I were Pharaoh, I would have given up on that one. I'd just been like, okay, that would smell disgusting. So, it killed the fish, they couldn't drink, so they had to find another water source. And it lasted, I don't know how long it lasted actually. But, so, the Israelites also had to endure this. If you think about it, he was punishing like the Egyptians, but the Israelites also had to like go through that too. So I bet they're like, God, why are you doing this? Like, how's this gonna work? But let's go on with the story. Then they went to Pharaoh again, and Moses and Aaron were like, let our people go. And he said, no, again, after the blood. And 7 days later, guess what he brought? He brought frogs. Okay, I cannot stand frogs. Look at those. I will just show you how much I don't like frogs. That's a frog in JC's hand. It literally took us 2 hours. It took us the entire frog line have a frog. That's how much I don't love frogs. Look how tiny that frog is. And look at the horror on my face. I'm like, no. So I can't imagine, if I'm scared of that one little frog, how much, like thousands of frogs, like how scared I would be. Thousands and thousands of frogs. Look, I could not do it. If I were there, no, do not send frogs. Okay, so when he sent the frogs, this is what happened. They went everywhere. Hold on, let me find this. Frogs. And the Nile will teem with frogs. They will come up into your palace and in your bedroom and onto your bed, into the houses of your officials and on your people, and into your ovens and kneading troughs. The frogs will come up on you and your people and all of your officials. In your beds? What? That's so scary. No. No. And that's exactly what Moses told Pharaoh. I don't know how Pharaoh didn't just say, okay, don't bring frogs to my bed. So then, after the frogs came, Pharaoh was like, bring me Moses. Like, how is this happening? And the frogs, Pharaoh was like begging Moses, please take away the frogs. And so Moses was like, okay, fine. Only if you let our people go. He's like, okay, I'll let them go, whatever to get the frogs away. So Moses prayed to God, and God was like, okay, I'll do that. And all the frogs died in the houses, in the courtyards, and in the fields. They were piled into heaps. Mounds of frogs. And the land reeked of them. And Pharaoh saw that the frogs were dead. So Pharaoh was like, haha, I tricked you. I'm not letting them go. So Moses did what he asked, and prayed to God, and God took away the frogs. But then Pharaoh was like, no, I'm not letting them go. So he tricked Moses. Then Moses was like, okay, shame on you. What's that saying? It's like, shame on you. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I forgot what it was. But then Moses and Aaron went and they stretched out their staff and struck the dust, and all the dust on the ground turned to gnats. No. Okay, look at those scary gnats. And just imagine, one gnat is pretty freaky looking. Imagine thousands of gnats. All the dust on the ground turned to gnats. Imagine all of them on you, like trying to swipe them off, but you can't get all of them. You don't have enough of the arms to kill all of them. So all the dust throughout Egypt became gnats. And I forgot to mention, like with the river and the blood, like the water into blood and the frogs, the Pharaoh was like, bring my magicians. And the magicians did it somehow. So this time, the Pharaoh was like, magicians, come on. And they couldn't do the gnat trick. So then they were like, the magicians were like, this is the finger of God. But Pharaoh still didn't believe him. How? And Pharaoh still wouldn't let them go. So then they came back again, Moses and Aaron. And this time, he said, if you do not let my people go, I will send swarms of flies on you and your officials, on your people, and into your houses. The houses of Egyptians will be full of flies. Even the ground will be covered in flies. Like you can't see the ground. There's so many flies on the ground. Look at all the flies. No. Like when I'm eating like a hamburger outside, like after the lake and there's flies, I'm like, get away from the food. Imagine like you can't even see the ground because there's so many flies. Disgusting. Okay, so all the flies were covering the ground, swarms of flies. And so Pharaoh thought he could trick him again. So Pharaoh said, I will let go of your people if you take away the flies. And Moses was like, okay, I want all the men, all the women, all the children. And Pharaoh was like, no, you can only have the men. I'm keeping the women and children. And Moses was like, no, I want everyone. So then, I'm pretty sure Pharaoh tricked him again and was like, okay, fine. No, I don't think that happened there. But anyways, so the flies went away, and then here comes the next plague. Okay, would y'all get tired of this by now? Like, would y'all have already given in? Yes, exactly. I don't know why he was so stubborn. Like, these plagues are awful. And the next plague is awful too. It's God killed all the livestock. So all the camels, all the horses, I don't know if horses are livestock. Yes. Okay, so cows, camels, goats, chicken, anything really like livestock. And so that happened. That's pretty bad because you don't have any like food now. And then the next thing that happened, the Lord told Moses, take a handful of soot from a furnace. And Moses tossed it into the air in the presence of Pharaoh. And it will become fine dust over the whole land of Egypt. And festering boils will break out on people and animals throughout the land. Do y'all know what boils are?
Yes.
That is a boil. Okay, that's disgusting. So they covered people and the animals. And a boil, I looked up the definition, it sounds disgusting. A painful pus-filled bump under the skin caused by infection. inflamed hair follicles. That's disgusting. And they were covered in boils. Imagine the pain they felt. They do not look happy. Pharaoh, what is wrong? So, I forgot to mention this also. There's literally so many details in this, it's hard to mention every single detail. But after the flies, God spared the Israelites, and he made like a fine line between the Egyptians and the Israelites, so the Israelites didn't have to go through like any of these plagues except the blood, frogs, and gnats. But those are pretty bad too. But they didn't have to go through all the rest of them. So, after the boils, God brought hail, fire storms of hail. That does not look fun. Okay, can y'all imagine, like, how big this hail would have to be, and it's on fire? Like, and it also said, like, if you were outside, you were, like, gonna die because of how, like, extreme it was. And, so Moses stretched out his staff towards the sky. The Lord sent thunder and hail and lightning flashed down on the ground. So the Lord rained hail on the land of Egypt. Hail fell and lightning flashed back and forth. It was the worst storm in all the land of Egypt since it had become a nation. That's insane. Like the worst storm ever. Think about the worst storm you've ever had to endure. This was like 100 times more than that. And so, Pharaoh was like, bring me Moses. And he told Moses, I have sinned. The Lord is in the right, and I and my people are in the wrong. And he was like, pray to the Lord, for he had enough thunder and hail. I will let you go. You don't have to stay any longer. So Pharaoh's like, I've had enough of this. This is crazy. So then Moses left Pharaoh and went out to the city, and he told the Lord, like, stop the thunder and hail. So he did. And when Pharaoh saw the rain, hail, and thunder had stopped, he sinned again. And he was like, no, I'm not letting them go. Could you imagine? He did this twice. Oh my gosh. Okay, these are so many plagues. I didn't realize how many there were. I'm only on number 7, and there's 10. But he tricked Moses, Pharaoh did, because he had enough of the hail and fire and lightning. So then Moses and God brought locusts. That poor guy. I don't know where this is, but that poor guy. He's like using a bat or something to get all those locusts away. Look at those scary creatures. Okay. The locust covered the ground until it was black. Nothing green remained. And so then Pharaoh was like, Moses, come here. And I bet Moses is like, I don't believe anything you say at this point because you tricked me twice. But Pharaoh was like, I'll let your people go, but I will only let the women, children, and men go, but I will not let you have the livestock. Moses was like, no, we will not leave, or we need, what did he say? He said, we will not, where is it? Not a hoof is to be left behind, not a hoof. So, he was not willing to let them go. Pharaoh wasn't. He's like, no. Man, this guy is stubborn. You bring 8 plagues, and he still says no. Okay, so this next one is pretty bad too. He brought darkness. Did the lights go up too? That's pretty good. Okay, so he brought darkness, and guess how long this darkness lasted? That's a good guess. 3 days. It lasted 3 days. And darkness that can be felt. So you can feel the darkness. I know, it's creepy. Like, walking down a dark alley, like, I can feel how creepy it is, but imagine, like, feeling the darkness, and you can't even see, like, anything. And all for 3 days, total darkness covered all of Egypt. So that was like the end of that video, how the darkness is like coming over. And they don't, I don't know if they had fire, but I'm sure if they did, that's the only light they saw. But in the Israelites' camp, they had light. Imagine like the sky split and it's dark and light. I'm sure that's how it was. Because they were pretty close together, I think. Okay, this next one. Okay. Okay, this one, he was also, I got them mixed up. The knot of hoof thing was actually with the darkness, it wasn't with the locusts. But, anyways, the next one is, I'll have to show you with the video because it's just that dramatic.
Take a lamb, and with its blood, mark the lintel and posts of every door. For tonight, I shall pass through the land of Egypt and smite all the firstborn. But when I see the blood upon your door, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not enter.
Okay, that happened, and he killed the firstborn of every son. Firstborn son was killed because that was the one who inherited like the kingdom. So like Pharaoh's firstborn son, that was who was going to be Pharaoh next. So he killed him. And unless they had like sheep blood around the door, that's what the video showed. But anyways, I'm going to give you all takeaways. And the first one is Moses kept obeying God despite the difficulties. And like he still obeyed God even though he didn't want to do it. And he had to go to Pharaoh 10 different times. So imagine how like difficult it was keep like going and asking. And obedience in the face of difficulties and doubt is what grows our faith and our character. The second one is if we keep fighting the good fight, we will see God's promise fulfilled just like Moses did. So Moses' leadership journey was far from over after he freed this. Oh, I forgot to mention, after he killed the firstborn, Pharaoh was like, okay, fine, I'll free the slaves. So he freed everyone, and of course they had to hurry up in case Pharaoh changed his mind, which he did, but I'm not going to go into that. Just read it, it's in Exodus. So he had to lead them, Moses had to lead them through the desert, and he wouldn't have known how to lead them through the desert if he wasn't put through all those trials. And like through those difficult times, he learned how to lead, and God used his struggles to prepare him for the adventures ahead. And number 3, your past doesn't disqualify you from being used by God. So Moses had a tough upbringing because he was like adopted into a new family and he wasn't raised from his own. And not to mention he killed an Egyptian. So we all make mistakes, and it's encouraging to see Moses also made mistakes too, and he was still able to fulfill God's call on his life. And number 4, Moses was called to do something beyond his natural ability. And if God calls us to do something that we can't already do on our own, we're tempted to glorify ourselves rather than giving glory to God. And so Moses, there's no way he could have done this by himself. So there was no way he could have took in the glory from it. So he's like, God did this, and he gave God the glory. So those are my 4 takeaways from that, and I hope you got something out of it. And it's really complex, the whole story, so go read it in Exodus or watch the movie, The Prince of Egypt. It's all about Moses. It's like one of my favorite movies ever. So yeah, I think that's it.
You know, there are so many things with that Moses, so many parallels between Moses and Jesus in that. One thing I like that she said is number 3, your past doesn't disqualify you from being used by God. Your past. I have a past. It doesn't disqualify me at all. In fact, those trials and those things that grew up, we can now help others through their trials and through their situations because we've been through those trials ourselves. Moses went through those. Hey, real quick, man, I want to talk about baptism